Are you sure you want to do this? Ornate asked, pushing a strand of her styled mane behind her ear. The twins can be quite the hoofful at times, especially when Blue Blood gets up to his tricks. Really, Ornate, I got this, Class Act said, rolling her eyes. I mean, sure, if there was diaper changing involved, it'd be a different story, but they're potty trained now. I can use magic around the filly, and you two haven't given yourself a night off in nearly a year and a half. The pink mare smiled more genuinely. Don't worry so much, and enjoy yourself, okay? Besides, it's the least I can do for, spoiling the party. Ornate winced. You didn't spoil anything, class. All of us were just, overreacting is all, and ganging up on you. There's no need to apologize for that. Nuh-uh, I'm not hearing any of it. Mom's been telling me for years that I never think before I speak, and she's right. But I'm making a change today to be a better, kinder class act, starting now. I upset you on a day you should have been happy, and I'm making it up to you. But sending the staff away too? Questioned Ornate. Really, class, Blue Blood and I can take a day off anytime, and they'll be perfectly fine watching the fills. Well, mostly, anyway. We just haven't gotten around to it. Class raised an eyebrow. It wouldn't be much of a favor if I just let the staff watch the children with me. Besides, everybody can use more days off. Most of your servants seem pretty happy to get out of the house. That's because my son is having too much fun with magic again. Ornate mumbled before speaking up. I just really think this is unnecessary, is all. Okay, the twins are in bed. Blue Blood the 16th called, entering the foyer. They should be out for at least the next hour. You ready to go, honey? He asked, eyeing his wife up and down and growling. Looks like it. I haven't seen you in that number since before the foals were born. I must say, I've missed it. The mare, wearing a red satin dress, blushed and swatted at her husband. Oh, hush. I was actually just making sure a class act actually wanted to do this, especially if it's going to be on her own. With how our son has been, I'm sure she can handle it just fine. She's a grown mare after all, aren't you, class? Blue Blood cut off nervous. He did not want his wife to change her mind after nearly 18 months of trying to convince her it was okay. They really needed this. Class Act turned her nose up proudly. Exactly. I mean, you're making it sound like watching your foals is going to be harder than memorizing a bajillion lines or something. I totally got this, cuz. Ornate went to argue, but her husband began herding her out the door. You heard her, she's got this. So come on, don't want to be late for a reservation, do we? We'll be back in 3 or 4 hours. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen. Snacks are there for the foals. Okay, bye! Class stopped her lazy waving once the door slammed shut and blew a strand of her blue mane from her eyes. That stallion is such a weirdo, she mused, walking into the living room and reaching into the bag she left by the couch. Pulling out a script, she flopped down on the cushions and flipped open the first page. While she didn't agree with Uncle Revel's decision for the next production, she would still put her all into the performance. She was a professional, after all. A loud creak woke the young mare as she jerked her head up. A strand of jewels stretched between her lips and a page of her script. Ugh, Our Town was such a boring play. How could such a fun-loving stallion like her uncle choose such drivel? The room was dim. Looking out the window, realizing the sun had set. How long was I out? Class mumbled as she wiped the spit from her lip. She was going to get up and check, but the giggle that suddenly echoed through the house had her pulling her hooves back up under her. Who's there? She called out, eyes darting about. Her answer was another giggle, and a fainter, high-pitched whisper. Her heart was beginning to speed up before she remembered that she was supposed to be doing. With a relieved sigh, Class called, "Okay, you two, enough hiding. I know you're around here somewhere." All she got in response was a rattling from the kitchen. Sighing, the mare got up, lit her horn to a light pink, just bright enough to guide her way, and headed toward the source of the sound. As she arrived, she noticed the light was on, and so unlit her horn. "You two hungry? I think your mom left apple slices in the fridge for—" She was stunned silent by the sight of two chairs perched precariously atop each other, with a filly holding the base steady while Colt stood on top. A head buried in the cookie jar sat on the fridge. The filly's eyes went wide upon seeing their foal-sitter. "We've been had! Quick, throw the cookies down!" At this, the colt looked up, mouth brimming with cookies, as he made a surprised sound in the back of his throat. Classac's heart froze when the colt lost his balance and toppled over. Her legs, however, didn't, as she lunged forward, horn and knighting to catch her ward. Just as his descent slowed, a squeak of pain emitted from the filly, who stumbled, having been attempted to catch her brother, and instead knocked the other mare's hoofs out from under her. Magic cut off, Class fell over, though luckily not on top of Pure, and soon began a cushion for Blue Blood's landing, all three groaning as they got their bearings. With Blue Blood being the first to recover, scrambling to his hoofs, he rolled off the pile, gathered the stolen cookies in his magic. "Come on, Pure, let's go!" he called to his sister, who was rubbing her head. Not waiting for an answer, he took off, and Pure struggled to follow. Before she could make it more than 3 steps, however, a pair of thin forelegs wrapped around her waist. "Gotcha, you little troublemaker!" Classac crowed. Blue Blood glanced at the struggling filly, eyes wide before turning tail and running out of the kitchen. "Brother, where are you going? Come back and help me!" Pure Blood fruitlessly pulled against her captor, grunting. "Traitor! At least leave me a cookie." "Pure Blood, stop that," Class demanded as she sat up, and to her surprise, the filly actually did, going limp in her grip with a sigh. "What were you two even thinking? Doing something so dangerous? Like, I expect a stunt like that from a colt. They're reckless, but you're a filly. I expected better. And aren't you supposed to be super smart?" Bluey is very persuasive?" Pure tried, attempting to appear innocent. When Classac didn't look convinced, Pure Blood pouted and crossed her hoofs. "It was a calculated risk," she grumbled. With Blue Blood's magic, it wasn't that dangerous, and the payoff was Mom's triple chocolate cookies. "She only lets me have 3 a day. 3! You understand, don't you?" Class continued to stare for a moment longer. Then, "Okay, yeah, I see where you're coming from." She really did. No doubt that was Aunt Goldie's recipe. Making those cookies as delicious as they were waistline destroyers. But that doesn't change the fact that that was a totally dangerous stunt, and I'm going to have to tell your parents about this. This got a panicked look from the filly. "What? No, please don't tell Mom and Dad." "No can do, little missy. You should have thought about that before you decided to play Jenga with the kitchen furniture. Now where's that brother of yours?" "Blue Blood, get your little patootie out here right now." As she waited, expecting a guilty colt to come slinking into the kitchen any second, she heard the limp filly in her hoofs sniffle. "They're gonna be so disappointed and offer some stupid cookies. I'm such an idiot." Blinking at the self-deprecation, Classac wanted to say something comforting, but an ominous voice stopped her. "You made little sister cry. I don't like you." Shocked by the odd statement, Class only muttered, "What?" "Let her go or be sorry." For a second, the mare thought of complying, until remembering who she was dealing with. "Blue Blood, enough playing around. Come out here now." "Come and get me." Class gasped. Oh, his parents were definitely going to hear about this. Okay, fine. Make it harder for yourself. I hope you get no dessert for a week because of this. Standing up, she looked down at the sad filly and the crook of her foreleg. It'd be pain walking around on 3 legs, but she couldn't carry her with magic. Pure, I'm going to put you on my back, so hold on to my neck, alright? You're not going to cause any trouble, right? No, ma'am, was her solemn reply as she was placed across her foal-sitter's withers. But you probably shouldn't play Bluey's games. He's gotten really creative with them, despite not only using levitation with his magic. The staff say he's Discord incarnate, whatever that means. Rolling her eyes, Class responded, I'm sure I can handle 1 colt. Stepping out into the dim hallway, contemplating on whether it would be safe to use her horn as a light source again when she had Pure on her back. Luckily, she remembered she wouldn't have to and began running a hoof along the wall. As she finally found the switch, the mare thought how lucky Ornate was to live in one of the few homes in Canterlot equipped with electric lights. It was definitely convenient she'd be investing in someday. There, let's see the little fella hide now, she said cheekily before jolting at the sound of squeaking from above. Looking up, revealed each light bulb being surrounded by a blue glow, one by one, and being twisted from their sockets. Klaus gasped as each bulb flew down the hallway and around the corner. Told you so, Pure whispered. Yeah, Klaus breathed, before shaking her head. I mean, no, that's not impressive at all. I can do that too. When I was 10 was left unsaid. Let Pure go and leave, Blue Blood warned from the shadows. Stilling her nerves, the foal-sitter called back. Not gonna happen. You and your sister are going to go into timeout until your parents get home. The response to this time was a raspberry, and class act was officially done. That's it, she yelled as she ran down the hall. She was not going to be insulted by a pony who probably still wet the bed. Turning the corner, her vision was immediately obscured by an object flying toward her face, though luckily for the young mare's career, that turned out to be just pillows. With a loud foof and a spray of feathers, class came to a halt, only to be pelted by several more downy objects of doom. Falling to her rump, she hacked back from several quills in her mouth and nostrils, and her passer tightened her grip around her neck. Are you okay? Pure asked. With one final wheezing sneeze, the last of the feathers were expelled from Class's airways, and she could answer, Yeah, I'm fine. Where'd your brother go? Oh, I think I saw him heading toward our room, Pure supplied, looking hesitant. Miss Act, I think maybe you should give up. At the angry huff and weak glare directed her, Pure eeped. Not that you can't catch brother, but somebody might get hurt, and I could probably calm him down. Yes, and I won't tell your parents what you two did tonight because of how thankful I be, Class said, head bobbing slightly with each sarcastic word. Yeah, right. I was a filly too once. I know all the tricks. Perfecting the puppy dog eyes was what earned me my cutie mark. Ignoring the filly's denial of manipulation, Class Act continued her crusade, determined to prove her superiority to this insufferable little colt. Remembering which room her cousin said was the foal's, Class Act came to a stop in front of the door and called out, There's nowhere for you to go, kid. Come out peacefully, and I might be able to convince your parents to only ground you for half of your life. It's a sweet deal. I suggest you take it. Never surrender! Blue Blood answered, quoting his grandpa's shield. Class smirked. I hope you'd say that. You are a worthy adversary to all things considered, but your rebellion ends here. With a roar, she opened the door and charged, only for her hoof to be caught on a twisted-up bedsheet pulling along the end of the entrance, and to topple forward in a pyramid stack of blocks spelling, You are smelly. There was a screech from both mare and filly as gravity took hold, accompanied by an evil laugh of a very misbehaved colt. The boy had to be given credit, however, as his sister was shot from his captor's back over the toppled blocks, only to land safely on a stack of pillows. As Pureblood stood dizzily, her brother ran to grab her by the hoof. "Come on, let's get out of here." She didn't resist as she was dragged out of the room, still trying to stop her head spinning. As they passed the down mare, she attempted to stand and give chase. "Hey, you two, get back here!" Class Act buckled as soon as she put pressure on her front leg, and she yelped in pain. I couldn't believe how out of hand I'd let this night get. With how much trouble Blueblood has been causing lately, I felt every pony could use a break. When my brother had been given permission to use his magic freely, he had tried taking full advantage of it. Unfortunately for him, he soon realized he could no longer pull off the same feat he could when his magic was newly developed. Apparently his first mythical growth spurt had ended, and his body had grown enough to contain the energy without having it leak chaotically. His magic had begun to settle, and he was not happy about it. Despite being told how impressive it was to still have such a mastery of levitation after this stage of development, Blueblood wanted more and took to practice constantly. Much to the dismay of the adults, they became subject to his random and inventive magical exercises. So when they were offered the night off, I was glad at first. But as I lay in my bed, Dad having just tucked us in, I felt fear bubble up inside. Not a day has gone by since the start of my new life that I had not seen my parents, and I had grown used to being that way. But now they were leaving. How long would they really be gone? Would they return in a few hours as they promised? Or would this be my past life all over again? A few fleeting visits a week while I remain alone? It was foolish, irrational, but the thought wouldn't leave me be. I lay there, eyes closed in feigned sleep, for what must have been an hour until my brother stirred beside me. Once he was awake and aware of the situation, there was no stopping him. And perhaps not wanting to, I indulged him more than I should have when he suggested we go for the cookie jar. Maybe it was for the promise of relief from my nerves, sweets having a calming effect I was never able to indulge in during my previous life. Or maybe it was some misguided act of rebellion, payback perceived abandonment. Either way, the plan was solidified when I spotted the sitter snoring on the couch. We weren't going to be caught. The house was empty. There would be no repercussions. Blueblood was giddy, not only over the prospect of getting his hoofs on those chocolatey dishes of heaven, but also because I was supporting him for once instead of merely watching disappointedly from the sidelines. Then we did get caught, and I was faced with full ramifications of my stupidity. I was complacent after that, giving in to the mayor's demands in hopes of saving myself and my parents even more grief. If only Blueblood had thought similarly. "Come on, sis, we gotta go," Blue said, trying to pull me from my rooted position. I frowned. The time for compliance was over. "No," I stated, bringing a baffled look to Blueblood's face. "No, but I beat her. We can have all the cookies we want now." I said no, Blueblood. I jerked my hoof from his and pointed to the whimpering mare. "She's hurt and we need to help her." Ignoring his argument that she's mean, I go to Class's side. "Miss Act, are you okay?" Looking up in slight bewilderment, Class Act's face suddenly scrunched up in a pained hiss. "It's my hoof. I think I really hurt it in the fall." Is it broken?" Finally, pulling the hurt leg from her chest, she says, "I don't think so." She tries to bend it at the forelock and winced. "Maybe just a sprain. It sure does feel like one." Chuckling sardonically, she added under her breath, "This is my first year ballet recital all over again. What's with me getting thrown by colts? As she shifted to get the wooden block out from digging into her ribcage, I turned to my brother. Go get something cold from the refrigerator. It'll make her hoof feel better. Blue Blood is scandalized. But she's mean. She caught you and chased me. Because we were doing something dangerous to steal cookies we weren't supposed to have, I countered, somewhat satisfied to see a shamed blush come to the colt's cheeks. Usually it's Mom or Dad that scolds him for his misbehavior, so it's odd for both of us, for me to be the one taking the role. Nonetheless, it's necessary right now. Go get something cold, I say again, and albeit with a grumble, Blue Blood goes to do just that. Turning back to my foal sitter turned patient, I help push the blocks away so she can lie more comfortably. I'm sorry. Looking at the miserable mare is all I can think to say. I should have talked him out of this instead of helping him. I was really stupid. Despite my best efforts, I find myself tearing up and have to rub the moisture away with a foreleg. And now some pony got hurt. Hey, none of that. A hoof is placed under my chin, and Klaus looked me in the eye with a smile. I was pretty stupid too. Look, what was I thinking, right? Running through the dark house like a crazy pony? It's no wonder I didn't trip earlier. And I was carrying you on my back, so really I should have known better. We're lucky your brother put those pills out for you, though I would appreciate a few for myself. Her smile becomes wistful. I really messed up this night, didn't I? You know, your mom is only a few years older than me, and yet look at her, happily married, 2 beautiful foals. Everyone likes her, and she has her life together. I guess I was just wanting to prove I could be like her. At least to myself. But I guess I should have known better. I'm an airhead. It's better if I just stick with acting. Seeing the defeat in her eyes, I feel even worse but can't think of anything to cheer her up. Before I figure something out, Blue Blood returns with a bag of whole chocolate chips. Here, he says with a frown, as he gives them to me. Happy now? Yes, I am, I responded with a grateful smile. Thank you very much. Looking at the bag, I couldn't help but feel my lip twitch, and as I passed it over to class, I could see she has a similar reaction. Chocolate, huh? Oh, the irony. I hope your mom doesn't mind that they're going to get a bit melted. Placing the bag over his ankle with magic, she hissed and sighed. Oh yeah, that's better. I'm glad. I'm sure Mom won't care. She'll probably be too focused on Blue Blood and me to care about some chocolate. Though it's meant to be a joke, I failed to keep the anxiety out of my voice. I'm really not looking forward to that. Klaus frowned a little. Hey, do you two mind helping me to the couch? It'll be a lot more comfy than this floor. I got Bluey to agree with only a little prodding, and the 3 of us made the long trek to the living room. Klaus having to hobble along at 3 legs, adding a few minutes to the trip. Eventually, though, we succeeded in escorting our foal sitter, and she collapsed heavily on the couch. I'm not looking forward to having to do that for the next few days, she says, lifting the bag up to check her injury. Hopefully I won't have to. The swelling's not looking as bad as I thought it'd be, so that's something. Maybe I'll pay my old ballet teacher a visit and see if she won't work her healing magic on this. That mare might have been a taskmaster, but she knew a few things about treating injuries. That's good, I say from the floor. Do you want anything? Klaus blinked a few times before chuckling. Hey, aren't I supposed to be one taking care of you? She shakes her head. Nah, I'm good right now. I mean, if you want to not get up to any more mischief so I don't have to move, that'd be nice. Beaming up, I salute. Sure can do, right, Bluey? What? But that's boring. The house is empty. It's never like this. Well, I really couldn't argue with that kind of logic, since me thinking that way was sort of what caused this mess. But I very well couldn't let blue blood run rampant for the rest of the night, so I used my ace in the hole. Please, big brother, do it for me. Being the little sister has some perks, I suppose. Ugh! He clamps his hoof to his chest, trying furiously to break his gaze from my shimmering eyes before eventually heaving a sigh and slumping to the floor. Fine, let's just do nothing then. Woohoo. Oh, thank you, big brother. Bringing out my piece de resistance, I heave the colt up by the shoulders and lay a big, wet kiss on his cheek, bringing a bright blush to his face as he pretends to furiously wipe the afflicted area. As he goes on about how gross that was, Class leans down with a sly smile and whispers, "Not bad. Could use a little work, but it was a pretty solid performance." What can I say? He inspires my best work, I reply with a sly smile as Blueblood moves to rub his face on the side of the couch. You might have the makings of a fine actress, you know. Girl, with some lessons? I look up at her hopeful face, just waiting for me to say yes, and I couldn't help but nod. It's the least I could do for her after the night she'd had. It might be fun. Oh, I know just the performance, she cheers, turning suddenly to Blueblood. And we'll need a third actor to play the villain, and after today, well... Blue looks around for a bit before pointing to himself. I don't know why he tried to avoid participating. With two sets of pleading eyes on him, he didn't stand a chance. When Ornate Garden and her husband returned, it was with rosy cheeks, the occasional stumble, and glowing smiles. Oh dear, I think we had too much wine, Ornate said with a giggle. We still have to take care of the twins by ourselves until all the help returns. Bah, I'm sure Class Act will either have them in bed or tuckered out by now. I think getting that dress off of you should be our first concern, Blueblood responded, nipping at his wife's neck. With a gasp, she playfully swatted at him. Don't say such things out in the open. Ponies could hear. The benefit of living on a large estate is that the neighbors are far away. Laughing, the two entered their home after one final kiss. Well, everything looks fine so far. The place hasn't burnt down. Don't jinx it, Ornate chided. Tonight's been going so wonderfully. I'd rather not have to deal with a house fire. An ear perked up. What's that? Blueblood swiveled his own ear. Don't know. Sound like it's coming from the living room, though. As the two proceeded down the hall, the sound became indistinguishable, as Class Act sounded quite angry, causing the pair to hurry their steps. When they arrived, it was not to see a shouting match between the sitter and their children, but the young mayor and their daughter wearing makeshift clothes while confronting their son, who had his mane done up in two spiral buns. Your reign of terror ends here, Grogar. We, Celeste and Celine, shall vanquish you in this foul city to the abyss it belongs, Class Act declared victoriously, stomping a hoof. A stuffed animal squeaked under hoof. Its countless brethren lay scattered across the floor, battered and beaten. Yes, no longer shall you disturb the rest of the dearly departed with your twisted schemes, Pure added, with a surprising amount of conviction in her words. The passion was not shared with her brother, however, as he stood upon the coffee table, looking dully down at the girls. You are fools to come here to the center of Tabelon, where my strength is at its greatest. Mere fools such as you are nothing compared to the power of the Blight Bell. Despite the monotone delivery, it was impressive for a fool so young to speak with such complexity. Class smirked. You are the fool, Ram. For while you may be able to channel all the power here, it is still your weakness. You've let us get this close. And have been so easily distracted, Pure added. You're focused so much on the description of your undead army, you didn't even notice you were open to a surprise attack. What? Blueblood said, turning slowly to the space behind him to see a small bell was toppled by one of his tiny soldiers. No! Return to the Shadow Realm from where you belong, monster, and never return, whispered Class, closing her eyes. And scene. Yay, we won! Pureblood cheered, kicking the toy. Take that, zombies! Yes, and it only took 22 takes. Good job memorizing your lines. Blueblood, or should I say Grogard, Lord of the Undead. See, I told you it wasn't that hard. Right, the colt replied. Can I go to bed now? Blueblood actually wanted to go to bed early? Dear, did you give birth to triplets and not tell me? Because that is obviously an evil twin, the older Blueblood said from the sidelines. Both of the twins snapped to their parents. Mommy! Daddy! They both cheered, rushing over to be swept up in hugs. Oh, my babies, Ornate said, showering them both with kisses. How was your night? Great, Pureblood began. Class had these really fun ideas to act out the battle scenes from this really cool play, and it was so much fun! Yeah, because you got to beat up the toys. I had to stand in one place the whole time, little Blueblood complained, ruffling his mane until the buns came undone. You weren't just standing there, you were controlling an army of the undead, countered Pure. That's plenty fun. That's right, Class added with a sage nod. One of the keys to a great performance is to make yourself believe in what you are acting. Good job, Pure, I'm glad you remembered. Right, the father said. Well, besides epic battles and world saving, did you do anything else interesting tonight? As soon as the question left his mouth, his sudden eyes began shifting about while Pure's dropped down. Well, Class said, looking at the two children's expression hesitant. No, not really. All in all, it was pretty boring tonight until, the play. They slept for a while, had some snacks, we played, tag, and then this. Pretty normal night. That's good to hear, Ornate said, sighing in relief. I was worried something would go wrong, like we had been driven mad or something. The twins, especially this little rascal, she rubbed the top of her son's head, can be pretty difficult at times. Nah, it was a great time, Class said with a wave. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Well, definitely keep you in mind, Ornate said, placing her foals down. What do you two think? While Blueblood looked indifferent, his sister stared at the young mare like she was an alicorn, before charging forward and hugging her foreleg. You're the greatest first cousin once removed ever! Class blinked down at the filly before smiling fondly. And you're the greatest, cousin's daughter ever. And Bluey? The colt turned to her. You're okay too. After his snort in response, Ornate took the foals to their room as her husband led their guests to the exit. Are you okay? You seem to have a bit of a limp. It's nothing, just hurt my hoof. Punching stuffed animals. They're pretty hard. Ornate, why are all the hallway light bulbs missing? No idea. Do you know why the lid of the cookie jar is off? Or why the jar is empty?